I was already feeling depressed because of everything that had been happening, but after I dropped a glass, Monica immediately yelled, "Hillary, you're dead weight, a walking corpse, a disaster." The words, sharp and jagged as the shards of glass that scattered across the pristine kitchen tiles, didn't just cut the air. They sliced directly into the fragile membrane of composure I had been struggling to maintain for the past 2 months. The sound of the glass shattering was a pathetic echo of my own life shattering 6 months prior, when a phone call in the middle of the night had informed me that my husband, John, was gone. The world had tilted on its axis then, and it had never quite righted itself. Moving in with my son, James, and his wife, Monica, was supposed to be the anchor, the steadying hand I needed to navigate this new, terrifying landscape of grief. Instead, it had become a different kind of wreckage. Each shard on the floor seemed to reflect a different cruelty from Monica. A heavy sigh when I took too long to get out of a chair. A pointed remark about the rising grocery bills, delivered with a saccharine smile while I was eating a piece of toast. The way she would rearrange my few belongings, a photograph of John, a small porcelain bird he had given me, moving them from the living room mantelpiece to the shadowed corner of my small bedroom, as if erasing my existence one object at a time. I had tried to make myself small, to fold myself into the corners of their life, so as not to be a bother. I ate my meals quickly and quietly, washed my plate immediately, and retreated to my room, the silence of those four walls a welcome reprieve from the charged atmosphere of the main house. I was a ghost haunting a home that was not my own, and I was beginning to feel like one. My reflection in the mirror was a stranger, a woman with hollowed eyes and a perpetual tremor in her hands, a faded watercolor of the vibrant person I used to be beside John. The glass had slipped from my fingers, a simple accident born of hands that had grown weak with sorrow and age. But to Monica, it was not an accident. It was a verdict. Dead weight. A walking corpse. A disaster. She stood there, hands on her hips, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arched in a mask of theatrical fury. Her voice was not just loud. It was venomous, each word a carefully aimed dart meant to inflict maximum pain. It was the culmination of weeks of unspoken hostility, of thinly veiled contempt that had been simmering just beneath the surface of her polite facade. The facade was gone now, burned away by the heat of her irritation, revealing the ugly, raw resentment beneath. She saw me not as her husband's grieving mother, not as an elder who deserved respect, but as an infestation, a nuisance that had disrupted the perfect order of her life. I stood frozen, the broom and dustpan feeling impossibly heavy in my hands. My breath caught in my throat, a knot of unshed tears and unspoken retorts. For 2 months, I had swallowed her insults, digested her passive aggression, and pretended for James's sake that everything was fine. I didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to put him in the middle of some domestic squabble. He was grieving too, in his own quiet way, and I couldn't bear the thought of adding to his pain. Every evening, when he came home from his long hours at the architecture firm, I would force a smile, ask about his day, and listen as Monica recounted a heavily edited version of ours, one where I was a sweet, slightly dotty old dear she was so happy to care for. "Your mother and I had a lovely chat today," she would say, patting my hand while I sat there, a silent accomplice to her lie, the truth a bitter pill I couldn't seem to spit out. But the phrase dead weight broke something inside me. It was a blow so direct, so brutal, that it shattered the dam of my self-restraint. It was what I feared most, what I saw in my darkest moments of despair, that without John, I had no purpose, no value. To hear that fear-given voice by my own daughter-in-law, in the home that was supposed to be my sanctuary, was an unbearable cruelty. The tremor in my hands stilled. A cold, hard clarity washed over me, displacing the fog of grief and fear. It was the kind of clarity that comes after a lightning strike has split a tree in two, revealing the rot within. I looked at Monica, truly looked at her, not as the wife of my beloved son, but as a stranger who had declared war on my spirit. And in that moment, I knew I could not be silent any longer. The ghost had found her voice. I set the broom and dustpan down with a deliberate, soft click against the counter. I straightened my back, feeling the vertebrae lock into place, a column of sudden, unexpected strength. The tears that had threatened to fall retreated, replaced by a glacial calm. "Monica," I said, and my voice was surprisingly steady, devoid of the quaver that had become its constant companion. "This is not your house to yell in," she scoffed, a short, ugly sound. "Oh, please. Don't start with your confused ramblings. I'm the one who has to clean up your messes. This is my house, and you are a guest here. A guest who has long overstayed her welcome." Her words were meant to put me back in my place, to remind me of my dependent status. But they had the opposite effect. They fanned the spark of defiance into a small, steady flame. "No," I said, my voice gaining volume, resonating from a place deep within my chest that I thought had gone silent forever. "You are mistaken. You are the guest. This house, this land, the very roof over your head, it all belongs to me." Monica's face, which had been a mask of triumphant scorn, flickered with confusion, then settled into a look of pitying disdain. "Hillary, you're not well. The grief is getting to you. You're forgetting things. James and I bought this house 5 years ago. You were at the housewarming, remember? You brought that awful gelatin salad." She tried to make it a joke, a condescending dismissal of a senile old woman's fantasy. But the details she mentioned were the very things that proved my point. I walked past her, ignoring the shards of glass on the floor, and went to the small wooden secretary desk in the corner of the living room, the one piece of furniture I had insisted on bringing from my old home. It was John's desk, and it held our life's important papers. My hands were steady as I unlocked the top drawer with a small, ornate key I wore on a chain around my neck, hidden beneath my blouse. I retrieved a thick vellum envelope, its edges softened with age. I walked back into the kitchen, the envelope held in front of me like a shield. "We bought this house 25 years ago," I stated, my voice ringing with an authority that stunned even me. "John and I. We paid cash for it with the money he made from his patent. We bought it for James. It was always meant to be for him, a place for him to raise his family. When you and he were looking for a house 5 years ago, you were struggling. You couldn't get a loan for the kind of place you wanted, the kind of place you felt you deserved." I looked her dead in the eye, watching the smugness begin to curdle into uncertainty. "So, we made you a deal."
John and I.
"We signed the house over to James, but with a private agreement, drawn up by our lawyer. A life estate. It meant that the house was his, but it was ours to live in for as long as we were alive. We chose not to live here then. We had our own home, and we wanted you two to have your space, your independence. But the ownership, the fundamental right to this property, remains with me until the day I die. The deed is in my name. The property taxes, which you probably think are paid by the mortgage company, have been paid every year from a trust account John set up before he passed. You don't own this house, Monica. You are a resident in a home that belongs to me." I placed the envelope on the kitchen island, sliding it across the smooth granite towards her. "That is a copy of the deed and the life estate agreement. The originals are in a safe deposit box. Feel free to read it." The silence that followed was profound. It was heavier than the grief, thicker than the unspoken tension that had filled the house for weeks. Monica stared at the envelope as if it were a venomous snake. Her carefully constructed world, her position as queen of her castle, was crumbling around her. Her face went through a rapid series of transformations, disbelief, then rage, then a flicker of something that looked like fear. She snatched the papers from the envelope, her eyes scanning the legal jargon, her perfectly manicured finger tracing the lines of text. I saw the exact moment the truth landed, the moment the legal, undeniable reality of my words settled into her mind. Her shoulders slumped. The color drained from her face, leaving her makeup standing out in stark, clownish relief against her pale skin. This is insane," she stammered, the words lacking their earlier conviction. "James never said anything. James knew the basics," I replied calmly. "He knew his father, and I helped him get the house. He probably doesn't remember the exact legal terms. We didn't make a big deal of it. It was a gift, a foundation for his future. We never imagined it would need to be used as a weapon. The sound of a key in the front door made us both jump. It was James, home early from work. The universe, it seemed, had a flair for the dramatic. He walked into the kitchen, a weary smile on his face that vanished as he took in the scene, the shattered glass on the floor, the legal documents spread across the island, his wife's ashen face, and my own rigid posture. "What's going on?" he asked, his gaze shifting between us. "Did something happen?" Before I could speak, Monica found her voice, a high, panicked version of her usual smooth tones. "James, thank God you're home. Your mother, she's having another one of her episodes. She's completely delusional. She broke a glass and then started screaming that she owns the house. She has these fake papers. Oh, honey, I think it's time we called Dr. Evans. I'm really worried about her." She rushed to his side, clutching his arm, playing the part of the concerned, frightened wife. It was a masterful performance, one she had been rehearsing for weeks, with her subtle comments about my forgetfulness, my supposed confusion. James looked at me, and my heart broke a little. I saw the doubt in his eyes, the flicker of uncertainty. He was caught between the woman he loved and the mother he had always trusted. Monica had been planting these seeds of my incompetence for months, a slow, methodical campaign of psychological warfare. "Mom," he asked, his voice gentle, cautious. "What is she talking about?" And so I told him. I told him everything. I started with the house, explaining the life estate just as I had to Monica, my voice never wavering. I told him about the trust that paid the taxes and the insurance. Then, the dam of my silence truly broke, and the last 2 months of misery came pouring out. I told him about the sighs, the snide remarks, the constant feeling of being unwelcome, of being a burden. I told him how she moved his father's picture. I told him how I hid in my room to cry so no one would hear. And finally, my voice cracking for the first time, I told him what she had called me just minutes before he arrived. She called me dead weight, James. A walking corpse, the words hung in the air, ugly and undeniable. James stared at me, then at Monica, who was shaking her head frantically, tears now streaming down her face. "She's making it up," she cried. "James, you know I would never. She's twisting things. She's confused. I love your mother. How could you even think of believing this nonsense over me?" My son looked utterly lost. He was a good man, a kind man, and his heart was being pulled in two. He wanted to believe his wife, the partner he had chosen to build a life with. But he also saw the raw, unvarnished pain in my face, a pain he had not seen since the day his father died. He looked at the papers on the counter, then back at me. I could see the war raging within him. Who to trust? The woman who seemed to be unraveling, or the woman who was suddenly hysterical? Monica's strategy was brilliant in its cruelty. She had eroded my credibility over time, so that when the moment of truth arrived, my truth would sound like madness. I need a minute," James said, running a hand through his hair. "I don't understand what's happening." He looked exhausted, overwhelmed by a conflict he had not seen coming. Monica clung to him, sobbing, while I stood my ground, my heart aching for my son's turmoil but resolute in my stance. I had spoken my truth. Now the pieces would have to fall where they may. I knew, with a sinking feeling, that her word against mine was not a fair fight. She had youth and his love on her side. I just had the truth and a pile of old papers. The next few days were a living nightmare, a cold war fought in the suffocating silence of the house. James was distant, torn. He treated me with a strained, careful kindness, the way one might treat a sick relative whose pronouncements cannot be fully trusted. He spoke in placating tones, assuring me that we would figure everything out. He did look at the papers, and I saw him make a quiet phone call, presumably to the family lawyer whose number was on the letterhead. But he never confirmed their validity to me. He was walking a tightrope, desperately trying to avoid a fall. Monica, meanwhile, had shifted her tactics. She was now the picture of a long-suffering saint. She would try to coax me into eating, bring me tea I hadn't asked for, and speak about me to James in a loud whisper when she thought I was out of earshot. She just seemed so agitated, poor thing. I really think her grief is manifesting in paranoia. She was building her case, brick by insidious brick. I felt myself shrinking again. The brief surge of strength I had felt in the kitchen draining away, replaced by a weary resignation. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps I was losing my mind. The world felt unreal, distorted. The house itself, my house, felt alien. The walls seemed to be closing in, listening to Monica's whispers, agreeing with them. I retreated to my room, the only space that felt even remotely mine, and spent hours just staring at the photograph of John. What would he have done? John would never have stood for this. He would have seen right through Monica's cloying sweetness.
He would have protected me.
But John was gone, and I had to protect myself. The thought was terrifying. It was a muscle I hadn't used in over 50 years. The turning point came on a Thursday afternoon, about a week after the confrontation. James had a major project deadline and had been working late every night. He called around noon to say he had forgotten some important blueprints and had to run home to get them. Monica, assuming he was safely ensconced in his office until at least 8 in the evening, saw no need to maintain her performance. I was in the kitchen, carefully making myself a sandwich, my movements slow and deliberate. I was trying to be invisible, but my very presence was an irritant she could not tolerate. "Are you going to be in here all day?" she snapped, walking in with her laptop. "I need to take a video call, and I can't have you shuffling around in the background like some kind of house troll." I flinched at the word troll but didn't respond. I just focused on spreading the mustard on my bread. Silence, I had learned, was my only defense. My silence seemed to infuriate her even more. "You know, this whole act is pathetic," she hissed, her voice low and dangerous. "Pretending you own the house. Waving around those ridiculous papers. Do you really think James is going to choose his crazy old mother over his own wife? He pities you. That's all it is. He's tolerating you until we can find a nice, secure facility to put you in. A place where you can't break things or make up stories. I've already been looking at brochures. Some of them have lovely gardens, a cold dread, sharp and painful, pierced through me. A facility. She was actively planning to have me put away. The sandwich in my hand trembled. This was no longer just about cruelty or disrespect. This was about my freedom, my autonomy. "You wouldn't dare," I whispered, the words barely audible. "Oh, I would," she said with a smirk, leaning against the counter. "It would be for your own good, of course. That's what we'll tell everyone. That's what we'll tell you, until you believe it yourself. Now, are you going to move, or do I have to physically escort you back to your little cell?" Neither of us had heard the front door open. Neither of us had heard the soft footsteps on the hardwood floor. James stood in the doorway of the kitchen, his briefcase in one hand, the forgotten blueprints in the other. His face was pale, his expression unreadable. He had heard everything. Every last poisonous word. The smirk on Monica's face dissolved as she saw him. Her entire body went rigid. The silence that fell was absolute, broken only by the frantic, panicked beat of my own heart. It was a tableau of truth, frozen in time. The abuser, the victim, and the witness. James looked at Monica, and for the first time, he saw her not as his charming, beautiful wife, but as the cruel, manipulative stranger she had revealed herself to be. His eyes, which had been clouded with confusion for a week, were now terrifyingly clear. He placed his briefcase and the blueprints on the floor with a quiet thud. "Get out," he said. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it carried the weight of a death sentence. Monica's composure shattered completely. "James, honey, you didn't. It's not what you think. She was provoking me. She says these awful things, and I snapped. I didn't mean it." The lies came tumbling out, clumsy and desperate. "I heard what you meant, Monica," he said, his voice growing stronger, colder. "I heard about the facility. I heard about the brochures. I heard you call my mother a house troll. I heard everything." He took a step into the kitchen, and it was Monica who shrank back. "You have been lying to me. You have been systematically tormenting my mother, the woman who gave us this very house, while she is grieving my father. You have tried to convince me that she is insane to cover your own cruelty. He turned to me then, and the look in his eyes was one of profound, gut-wrenching remorse. Mom, he said, his voice thick with emotion.
I am so sorry.
I should have believed you. I should have known. I let her poison my mind against you, and I will never forgive myself for that. It wasn't your fault, James, I managed to say, tears finally streaming down my face, not tears of sadness, but of relief. She is very convincing. No, he said, shaking his head. There's no excuse. I failed you. I failed Dad, he turned back to Monica, his face a mask of cold fury. I want you to pack a bag. I want you to be out of this house in 1 hour. We can talk about the rest through lawyers. But you will not spend another night under my mother's roof. Our roof, she shrieked. This is my home. No, James said, picking up the legal papers from the island where they had sat all week, a silent testament to the truth. You were wrong. It's her home. And you are no longer welcome in it. The hour that followed was a blur of frantic activity. Monica alternated between screaming, pleading, and sobbing as she threw clothes and belongings into a suitcase. I sat at the kitchen table, my half-made sandwich forgotten, while James stood like a sentinel in the hallway, making sure she didn't take anything that wasn't hers. He didn't speak to her again. He just watched, his expression grim and resolute. When she finally dragged her suitcases to the front door, she shot one last look at me, her eyes filled with a hatred so pure it was almost breathtaking. I met her gaze and did not look away. I was not a ghost anymore. I was the master of my own house. Then she was gone, the slam of the door punctuating the end of a chapter of my life I wished had never been written. When the sound of her car speeding away had faded, James came and sat down opposite me at the kitchen table. He reached across and took my trembling hands in his. Mom, he began, but his voice broke. He put his head in his hands, and for the first time since his father's funeral, my son wept. I moved to his side and wrapped my arms around his shaking shoulders, a mother comforting her child, the roles we had been playing for the last 2 months finally, mercifully, reversed. We stayed like that for a long time, the silence of the house no longer oppressive, but peaceful. It was a space for healing, for apologies spoken and unspoken, for the slow, painful work of mending a trust that had been so badly broken. In the days and weeks that followed, the house began to breathe again. It was as if Monica's departure had been an exorcism, casting out a malevolent spirit that had been poisoning the very air. James was a changed man. The weight of his unwitting complicity in my torment was heavy on him, and he dedicated himself to making amends with a quiet, fierce devotion. We talked for hours, really talked for the first time in years. He told me about the subtle ways Monica had planted the seeds of doubt, her little comments about my episodes of forgetfulness, her feigned concern that I was drifting away. He confessed that he had been so wrapped up in his own grief and work that he had taken her words at face value, never stopping to question the narrative she was so carefully crafting. It was a painful confession for him, but a necessary one. It cleared the air between us, sweeping away the last vestiges of her poison. One evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, James paused and looked around the living room. This house feels empty now, he said, but he didn't mean it in a bad way.
It feels quiet, but it needs something.
It needs you in it, Mom. Not the version of you that was hiding in her room. The real you. He looked at the corner where my crafting supplies, my yarns, my fabrics, my half-finished projects were neatly packed away in boxes, untouched since I had moved in. I hadn't had the heart for any of it. The creativity, the joy in making something beautiful, had shriveled up inside me under Monica's oppressive gaze. I remember when I was a kid, James continued, a nostalgic smile on his face. This house was always filled with color. You were always knitting a sweater, or quilting a blanket, or embroidering something. Dad used to joke that he was going to trip over a ball of yarn and break his neck. His smile faltered for a moment as he mentioned his father, but then it returned, gentler this time. He loved it. He loved that you filled our home with warmth, with things you made with your own hands. He was so proud of you, he walked over to the boxes and opened one, pulling out a cascade of brightly colored yarn. He held a skein of brilliant blue wool in his hand. I think Dad would want you to find that again. I want you to find it again. This is your house, Mom. Fill it with whatever makes you happy. Make a glorious mess. I'll be careful not to trip. His words were a key, unlocking a door in my heart I thought had been permanently sealed. That night, I unpacked my boxes. The familiar textures of the wool and cotton, the smooth, cool feel of my knitting needles, the vibrant rainbow of threads. It was like greeting old friends. My hands, which had felt so clumsy and weak, remembered their old rhythms. I started with something simple, a small dishcloth, just to get the feel of it again. The repetitive, meditative motion of the needles was a balm to my frayed nerves. Click, clack, loop, and pull. With each stitch, I felt like I was knitting myself back together. I was reclaiming a part of my identity that had been stolen, not just by grief, but by cruelty. Soon the house was transformed. I draped a brightly colored afghan I had just finished over the back of the sofa, its cheerful stripes a bold statement against the muted, tasteful beige Monica had insisted upon. I hung a small, embroidered wall hanging of a garden in bloom in the hallway. I started a complex quilt on a large frame in the spare bedroom, the pieces of fabric telling a story of renewal. The house was no longer just a structure of wood and plaster. It was becoming a home again, infused with my personality, my creativity, my spirit. It was filled with color and life. James was true to his word. He reveled in the transformation. He would come home from work and his first stop would be my crafting corner to see my progress, his praise genuine and enthusiastic. We fell into a new, comfortable routine. We ate dinner together every night, sharing stories of our day. We watched old movies, me with my knitting in my lap, him with his feet up on the ottoman. The oppressive tension was gone, replaced by a gentle, easy companionship. We were not just mother and son. We were two people healing together, forging a new, stronger bond from the ashes of betrayal. One Saturday, my late husband's sister, my dear friend Carol, came to visit. I had called her during that terrible week of uncertainty, and her unwavering belief in me had been a lifeline. "Hillary," she had said, her voice firm over the phone. "John told me all about the arrangement with the house. He was so proud of being able to give James that security. You are not crazy. You are the matriarch of that family, and it's time you reminded them of that. Seeing her now, sitting in my sun-filled living room, a cup of tea in her hand and my colorful afghan draped over her lap, felt like a victory. "My goodness, Hillary," she said, her eyes sparkling as she looked around. "The place looks wonderful. It looks like you again." She reached out and squeezed my hand. "I'm so proud of you. I know how hard it must have been to speak up, to fight for yourself." "I had to," I said, my voice filled with a quiet confidence that felt new and wonderful. "I almost disappeared, Carol. I let myself become a ghost in my own life. I'm not going to do that anymore." We talked for hours, and I showed her my latest project, a series of knitted toys for the local children's hospital. An idea had been taking root in my mind, a way to turn my passion into something more. I had started a small online page to showcase my work, and to my surprise, I had received a few orders. It wasn't about the money, it was about the connection, about sending something warm and handmade out into the world. It was the opposite of what Monica had tried to do to me. She had tried to make me small and invisible. Now I was reaching out, creating and connecting. My world was expanding again, not shrinking. James and I eventually had a conversation about the future of the house. "You know, Mom," he said one evening, "if you ever wanted to sell this place, travel, move to a condo by the sea, we could do that. The money would be yours. I want you to live your life exactly how you want to live it. No more obligations." I thought about it for a moment. The idea of the sea was tempting, a vast expanse of freedom. But then I looked around the living room, at the quilt on the wall, at the basket of yarn by my chair, at the photograph of John that now sat proudly in the center of the mantelpiece. "No," I said, smiling. "I'm home. This is where I want to be. This is John's house. It's my house. And now, it's our home again." Life settled into a beautiful, peaceful rhythm. I was no longer just the grieving widow or the burdensome mother. I was Hillary. I was a crafter, an artist, a small business owner, a friend, a mother. The title of walking corpse had been shed like a snake's skin, leaving behind someone stronger, more resilient, and more deeply appreciative of her own worth. Monica had meant to bury me with her words, but she had, in her own twisted way, given me a shovel. I had used it not to dig my own grave, but to dig myself out of the hole of despair I had been in. I had unearthed the foundation of my own strength, a foundation that had been there all along, solid and unshakable, just waiting for me to stand on it. The shattered glass on the kitchen floor had been a painful end, but it had also been a brilliant, necessary beginning. What would you do in this person's place? I often wonder how many others have found themselves in similar situations, feeling like a guest in their own lives. Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And if you've ever felt like your voice was lost, let this story be a reminder that it's never too late to find it again. Write to me and tell me where you heard this story. It brings me joy to know how far these messages of strength can travel. If you enjoyed my story and would like to support the creation of more content like this, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Your support means the world to me. For those who are able to, using the Super Thanks feature or making a small donation helps keep this channel going, allowing me to share more tales of resilience and empowerment. There are many other stories waiting for you. With heartfelt greetings.
Until next time.